Hi. Hi. Welcome to episode 30 and a half of Make Things Club. My name is Sarah, and I'm the host of this podcast. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, with my fiance and my 2 cats, and it is July 2nd. I say this is episode 30 and a half because I actually recorded an entire full-length episode about a month ago. Actually, if I'm looking at my notes here, on June 2nd, I recorded a full episode. I sat and chatted for about an hour, and then I didn't post it. So some of these notes were written a month ago, and some were just like scribbled on top with a pen. So I'm gonna be using my notes from a month ago and just update wherever possible. So there's gonna be maybe some flashback things to the episode that I didn't post. Who knows at this point? We're in the Wild West. So first off, I just wanted to welcome any new viewers. If you can see Stella, she's probably gonna knock a bunch of stuff over. You can kind of see her head in the background there. But welcome to any new viewers. Thank you so much for checking out my podcast. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me, even though I'm the most consistently inconsistent person who puts videos out on YouTube. If you don't know anything about my social media habits, then let me catch you up. So there is a Ravlery group on Ravlery. Super smart. There is a group on Ravlery if you wanted to search and join. It's under the Make Things Club. You can search in the group tab and find it there. There is a KAL that I started last week or so that I will talk about in a second, but there's a chatter group in there for the KAL that I'm going to talk about and a bunch of other stuff, but sometimes it's a pretty quiet place, so it's kind of nice having conversations going right now. So if you wanted to check that out, just hit me up on Ravlery. If you want to follow along on my crafty adventures a little more consistently, Instagram is kind of the place to find me there. I literally will kill half of my entire battery on my phone on Instagram alone. So that's kind of where I'm the most active. What else? I think that's pretty much it for that. Oh, if you want to find me on Instagram, my username is Loose Pages, and on Ravlery I'm known as Romperlust. So yeah, I'll put those in the notes just in case you missed it. So just want to give a heads up, the last knit along that I had done was the Brave New Year KAL, which I didn't even participate in. And I've kind of talked about how I am not really the best for KALs, but I'm doing another one because this one is probably my favorite KAL that I've been a part of or that I've created, which isn't a lot. I'll just go right into it and talk about the new knit along that I'm going to be hosting, and that has actually already started. So I can't take credit for this on my own. It kind of organically came out of a Instagram group conversation with some of my knitter friends and I, but we were all kind of discussing just how we don't knit for ourselves because knitting a sweater, it's an investment. You're investing in the yarn to knit a sweater, and you're investing in the time to knit a sweater. And I feel, and now I know a lot of people think this way, but for me, I've never really knit a pullover or anything other than just one cardigan actually, and I'm kind of over shawl knitting a little bit. I am just kind of, I'll talk about this later, but shawl knitting is kind of killing me a little bit right now. All these long rows that I'm not feeling the long rows right now. So I've been kind of wanting to knit garments for a while. I've been wanting to knit more sweaters. I've been wanting to knit actual like clothing, not just sweaters, but for some reason I'm not. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm not super comfortable in my body right now. I'm kind of that person who has been putting off knitting myself things because it's expensive when you have to knit like a large size of something and you see, oh, that's another like 2 skeins or another 3 skeins that I would have to add in. So for me, it's like, it's been a joke, but it's actually not a joke because I actually feel this way, but I say that it's a joke kind of thing. Where, oh, I'll lose 20 pounds, or maybe if I lose this much weight it'll be cheaper or easier and I won't have to knit as long or whatever. But basically that line of thinking has kind of permeated my entire life. So the idea of this knit along is that we're not gonna put our lives on hold and wait for that 20 pounds or wait for that period of your life where you feel better, or deny yourself something that you could enjoy now. So the whole premise of this knit along is basically, fuck it, I'm fine the way I am. I'm not gonna put my life on hold anymore to do the things that I wanna do. And I'm gonna embrace the body that I have now, because I think a lot of the times we think that if our body was better, or if we were more comfortable in our body, or if we felt like we were gonna be skinny or smaller or more fit or whatever, that we'll be happier. And I know for a fact that that's not true, because I don't know, I lost a bunch of weight a couple years ago, like about 30 pounds, and it was a very unhealthy way to lose weight. It was almost like eating disorder level calorie restriction. And that weight that I lost really quickly kind of made me really uncomfortable, because at that point I felt like I was getting more attention from strangers or just people in streets. So at that point I kind of realized that like weight loss is it's not a thing that brings happiness. It's a process, and it's psychological, just making sure that you're comfortable with your body, and you need to be comfortable with whatever body you have, because they're good bodies, right? So the idea of this KAL, now that I've rambled on and on, is basically just, fuck it, we're doing it now. We're not gonna wait anymore. I want something pretty for myself, and I'm gonna wear something pretty that makes me feel pretty, and I'm gonna wear it now. So that's basically the premise of this KAL. It's all about confidence and body positivity and enjoying the body that you have now, because I feel I've spent a lot, basically my entire 20s, waiting for better things to come along and waiting for my body to be what I wanted it to be. And I'm just putting off happiness that I could be experiencing now, because I want to be comfortable in the body that I have. I don't want to wait for my life to start until I hit this idealized version of myself, which might never happen. So that's the premise of this KAL. It's already started. If you want to knit yourself basically a sweater or a top or anything that you are measuring your current measurements for. It's not something that, you know, if you feel like you're gonna take 3 months to knit a sweater, that you're gonna ideally be this size at the end of that 3 months. The idea is that you're measuring now, you're knitting for your body currently now. You're not, you know, putting this in a hope chest or something like that for later. And it can basically just be any garment, any kind of piece of clothing. So I know a couple people that I've talked to are gonna be doing the same top that I am, and that's awesome. And basically that's the premise. So knit yourself something beautiful, use current measurements. What else? Whips are allowed. I'm gonna allow whips, but it has to follow the rules that I've stated. So if you started this sweater and it's like a hope thing, it needs to be something that you will wear now, not something that you're gonna, or that you ideally cast on for, yeah, you get it. So whips are allowed. Any kind of sweater, garment, whatever, as long as it's your current measurements. And there's a chatter thread for this knit along, and it's really kind of nice and so warm and fuzzy to read some of the things, and we're all in it together, and we should just be a supportive, like, girl gang kind of thing. So it's really positive in the chatter thread. I hope that you join us. Deadline is on September 30th, so this is kind of working into a Knit City type thing for me. I will probably let the knit along go longer if you guys are not finishing or whatever, but the cutoff for prize deadlines will be September 30th. Yeah, that's pretty much the main thing. If you want more information, I have been putting things in the Ravlery group. There is a hashtag for this KAL. If you want to post on Instagram or on other pieces of social media, use the hashtag. It's been really fun seeing it kind of pick up around Instagram. It's just really nice getting messages from people who are like, thank you, this is something I struggle with, because I believe we all struggle with it. And instead of cutting each other down or feeling like we have to be this way, the best type of revolution is loving yourself, and I think that's a really important thing to do. So that is the knit along. It has already started. I've swatched and started my sweater, and I will show that in my whips. But basically, if you want to join, please join. There's so many amazing positive things happening and so many nice messages that we're all supporting each other. When it comes to prizes, if you want to donate a prize, I am not going to turn you around and kick you out. You can definitely donate a prize. You can get in touch with me on Ravelry, on Instagram, anywhere that you can find me. I'm open to that. We do have 2 prize donations so far. So Hannah from Palindrome Knits has graciously donated a skein of her yarn, which is really funny because I was in the gym looking through her shop and putting things in a cart while I was stretching after my workout, and then I came upstairs to look at my computer on Ravelry and she had messaged me saying she would love to donate a skein. So let's just say I also did some stash enhancement there as well. But Hannah has donated a skein of yarn. I will probably be getting that within the next week because it's been shipped out. And Megan from Pip and Pin has donated some prizes as well. She's going to be donating some patterns. So yeah, that's great. If anybody else wants to donate, or if you have connections or whatever, just let me know. It would be really nice to give out some prizes for this kind of like boundary testing body positivity thing. And Stella is moving my tripod. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. I guess we can go into the knitting stuff now. So according to my June 2nd notes, the only finished object that I had last month was my millionth pair of Rose City rollers. So this is the finished pair, and this is probably the closest that I have come to proper negative ease on socks. Granted, I have not worn these anywhere because it is really warm outside and I just don't do socks most of the year. So I have not been wearing them, obviously. But these are my Rose City rollers, which is a free pattern by Mara Catherine Briner, and I'm sure everybody's knit at least one pair. If you haven't, this is a great starter pair of socks because you just learn everything that's really important right at the beginning. You don't spend too much time knitting up legs. I am a huge fan of shorty socks. I very rarely wear pull-up socks anyway, so this is kind of my go-to pattern for knitting any kind of socks because ankle socks are the best socks. So this was knit with Regia Extra Merino Twist. I don't know what the color name is because I believe everything is just numbers, but yeah, I really like this. One of my friends gave me this yarn because she wasn't knitting anymore, so it was like a bonus. And I really like how this stuff knit up, so the colors are pretty cool. This is my first time using Regia. It feels pretty rustic and good. So hopefully these will come in handy when it's actually cold and I want to wear them. So this was my, let's do this because I'm hitting my light. This was the only finished object that I had last month. It's been a long time since I have finished anything else, but I do have a finished shawl, and this one comes with a story. So here's my socks one more time. Beautiful colorway, really like it. Oh, and I knit these with, I believe, a 2.25mm needle, and I think I did 56 stitches. I don't know, it's in my Ravelry group, but I'm starting to like trust the lower ends of the needle. So I'm knitting another pair, I think, with 2.0mm needles, which I think is a US size 0. I have no idea about US sizes, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling a little bit braver to just make them really small because a lot of the socks that I knit are huge, and that's not the point of socks. Let's just say that. So there. The other finished object that I have, I just finished a couple days ago. And like I said, this one has a story. So I recorded on June 2nd, and I was talking about this work in progress. I'll just go to my notes. So I'm knitting I finished the April Fool shawl by Melissa Stadja, who is Hey Lady Hey. And this is it. I love it. I love tassels. Everything should have tassels on it. I'm just gonna start putting tassels on everything. Tassels are the best. Anyways, this is my shawl. So it's kind of a diamond shape. You knit it tip to tip, which also more shawl patterns should be tip to tip because you don't end up with like 500 stitch rows. You end up with 200 stitch rows. And especially with this shape, it was really nice because you start at this corner. So this is my first cast on corner. And then you knit up to the middle. So you've got like a massive triangle. And then after you hit the middle, the rows get shorter. So it's almost like a mini marathon, because by the time you get to the middle and you're like, oh my gosh, then you start decreasing. So that's a cool concept for a shawl. I'm a big fan of stuff like that. So this was knit with Kaleidoscope Dye Works, who is Allie, and she's local to me. This is my knit local shawl, actually. But she's local to me, and she's unfortunately had to close her Etsy shop because of health concerns. And I really do hope that she's doing okay. I always think about her, and I thought about her a lot when I was knitting this shawl. But this part of the shawl was, I believe, what she calls mistake yarn. So she came to one of my crafternoons last year and had an impromptu trunk show where she brought a bunch of yarn that she either didn't like or didn't turn out quite like she wanted to and wouldn't put in her Etsy shop, and we basically cleaned her out. So this yarn here is, I believe, what she was calling dark pixie, because she had a pixie colorway which wasn't as dark as this, and it's just a beautiful speckled yarn. I absolutely love it. It's so pretty. Lots of different little pops of color. She's amazing at speckles. So this was the dark pixie, and I unfortunately had a bit of an accident with it. So let's just start at the beginning. This shawl is a bit of a saga. So I had a really hard time getting used to the pattern. The pattern doesn't really give a lot of information, I guess. So if you're not really paying attention, or if you're just like me, where you need to like spend a lot of time reading something to actually comprehend what those words are saying, because I learn by doing or watching mostly. But these little eyelet rows were kind of a pain in the ass to make sure that you had the right rows for them. So there was a lot of stopping and starting. I recast this on probably 5 times because I would make some stupid mistake. And it's really hard in the beginning because your rows are so short that if you're not actively counting your rows, there's going to be a mistake somewhere. Another thing that I had a hard time with was my border stitches. So once I finally put stitch markers in to know that, okay, I'm slipping one, knitting one, and then I'm knitting everything else, it was a lot easier. So I really recommend putting border stitch markers in to keep it easy. There's also no stitch counts. So one of my friends, when she was in town from Dawson Creek, Jocelyn gave me stitch counts, which honestly I could have done, but I have this aversion to math that makes me die a little bit when I have to do it. So she gave me all the stitch counts that I should have at the end of each chart repeat, and that really helped as well. So I put those on my Ravlery project page. If you are like me, where you kind of need to get a little bit of that validation by knowing what stitches you have and what stitch counts you should have at the end of chart repeats, I put all those numbers in there so that you can find them. But this one got restarted a couple times. I had messed it up, and I was at Beer Revolution, a place in Edmonton, for dinner and drinks with my friends after the Fiber Frolic last month, and Jocelyn re-knit this for me because I had done a mistake or missed a make one or something. But then after, thanks Jocelyn, you did all that work for me, and then I ripped it out the next day anyways. I ripped it out because our gauges are different, and it was really starting to bug me. So I recast it on a 5th time, got up to about, I could probably find it because there's a break in the yarn, probably got up to about here when I washed my project bag in the washing machine with the paper pattern inside. It appears that the skein came out in a very organized yarn barf kind of way. So I think it'll be okay in the long run. Yeah, so this is the bottom of it. So I'm just gonna like put it outside and let it dry. Here's the rest of my pattern. God damn it. Yeah, fuck. So that was a bit of a like absolute freak out for me because I was not having a good weekend to begin with. And then when I found out this was completely washed in the washing machine with the paper pattern and the skein, the cake of yarn, it's not a good day. So I basically left it, walk away, take a couple breaths, cry a bit, come back later. And by the time the yarn had dried, it was pretty okay. I had to cut the yarn to recake the yarn cake that went through the washing machine because half of it came out and was all tangled up and the other half was still in the cake. But it was basically like a lot of me picking paper pulp out of my yarn. There's still paper pulp every once in a while in here. But when you're knitting really rustic kind of farmy wool and you're pulling out like vegetable matter or sticks and stuff, that's kind of how the rest of this came, except with paper pulp. So that was a bit of a crisis. The yarn that I used on this side for the stripes is also local to me, and it's from Jess at Haven Fiber Arts. And this is really old. I got this from her before she changed her labels and her shop name. But this is a 1-ply fingering superwash merino, and it is beautiful. I had issues winding it. I've never really used a single ply for anything bigger than a blanket square. So I was a little nervous, especially because when I was winding this part, the skein flew off my winder, and that irritated me a lot. So when I was rewinding it the second time, after it had completely just like flown the coop, the yarn broke, and it was just a pain to wind. I don't think that the winder that I have a Stanwood winder, it really just doesn't like single ply. It's a little bit slick, and it just literally just like tries to escape every time that I use it. So I was really nervous using this yarn because I had kind of a painful experience winding it, and I was really worried that I was gonna break it. So I know a lot of people are talking about being nervous with Brooklyn tweed because they end up breaking it. I never felt nervous with Brooklyn tweed, but I definitely felt nervous with this. And I feel like it was kind of one of those I'm knitting gingerly kind of things, but I never had a problem with it breaking. Stella. She just walks in between my tripod and she's gonna knock something over. But I never should have worried about it, because at the end when I was pulling off the yarn to break it or to do weaving in ends or whatever, it actually was pretty strong. So I was just kind of paranoid, and I think that feeling of being worried that I'm gonna break the yarn for this long made this part of the shawl feel like it took way longer than this part. And yeah, you just carry your yarn up the side, you don't need to break it or anything. But there were a couple times where I broke the yarn because the color differences, you can see here it's almost like a gray instead of the dark kind of purple. So the variation in the skeins was quite pronounced throughout it. And towards the end I was like, oh, I don't like how I'm only getting the light stuff, so I kind of broke the yarn to get the more potent colorful parts. So it was a pain to weave in those ends. And then I still really haven't dealt with that part yet. I just tied it in a knot, and I'm just gonna leave it for now. Stella, hey. She's doing something she's not supposed to. And then yeah, you put tassels on it. So the tassels kind of just serve a fun purpose, but they also serve a functional purpose, because this end here, with all of the carrying up the yarn and the tension, it does have a tendency to curl, so this kind of keeps it from curling. So that's my April Fool shawl. I'll put it on for like 3 seconds because I'm already kind of starting to sweat and it's hot, but it's really quite pretty. I really like it. So, yay, that's done. Stella Nova, what are you doing? Get down, please. I'm filming in my bedroom today because I feel like the background is just too chaotic in the office. There's way too much going on. And Stella's just rummaging through parts of my fiance's section in the bathroom. Stella, get down. Get down. So, in terms of actual works in progress, I'll go back to the notes because I did want to talk about this really briefly. I'm trying to do the kitty yin yang ankle socks, and I have officially given up, and I will be frogging these. But they're so cute. I don't know if I did the best job when it came to the colorwork ear section, because you can see it's really messed up. I carried the yarn across. I tried to do some colorwork here instead of actually like cutting the yarn and whatever, but it's way too tight. So I need to either frog back to this section or redo the entire thing because I wasn't following the pattern. I kind of just knit the entire toe and then started doing the pattern, so they're not going to match if I just keep doing that. But either way, I think they're so cute, and I really need to just like work on this and get it done. But I think I'll probably just frog the entire thing. So this is being knit with Regia and Regia, different types. Probably saying that wrong. But this is probably going to get redone. I was having problems with this as well. I'm knitting these with 2mm needles, so US size zeros, because the other ones were way too big. So this is actually really working for me gauge wise. It's just this color work section and the fact that I just did whatever I wanted instead of actually following the pattern for this part and won't be able to match it, that I'll just probably redo it. So this is one of my first attempts at a toe up sock. I'm not sure if I really like the increases that I did. I did knit front and back instead of make ones. But whatever, like I'm not exactly sure if I'm into knitting socks, but like once I have some on the needles, it's so nice to just carry these around. Like I was working on these at a friend's wedding and it was just so nice to have something portable in between the times where we had the ceremony and then the reception, and I'll do it eventually, but right now these are just kind of sitting. If you have any advice for kind of carrying yarn in this kind of a type of way, let me know, because yeah, I don't know if I should just be super loose, but I don't want my stitches to look weird. So yeah, advice, because I'm totally a noob at sock knitting and this kind of stuff just goes right over my head. So they're cute. And it's a free pattern. And they're cats. I just kind of need to do everything that has cats on them. So that was one of my works in progress. Yeah, my floats are too tight. That's pretty much the main problem. So I had cast on with a 2.25mm needle first, and it was way too big. I frogged it, and then I cast on with a 2.0mm needle. That seems to work better. So yeah, I'm moving down steadily with my sock gauge. One of the other things that I'm working on is my succulents shawl by Maria Monska. I know that the last time I had talked about this, I was just getting ready to cast it on, I believe. So this is a paid pattern on Ravlery. So get the yarn out of the way. And I'm honestly just not really working on it right now because the rows are too long. I'm having a hard time feeling the motivation. But it's basically, I think I have one more row of this, one more repeat of this lace part. I'm just like starting to sweat. I have one more row of this lace insert before I start the second chart. So I'm like, I have a good bulk of it done. I'm doing pretty good. But I'm just kind of feeling the long row syndrome where I just don't want to do it. So this is Manos del Uruguay Alegria yarn in the sand colorway, and it almost like perfectly matches my skin. So I feel like I probably should have gone with a different color for something that'll be close to my face, but I wore a lot of black. This will work. And it's just really beautiful. It's a very like neutral, but there's still little differences, like little tonal differences in the colors. And it's just really quite stunning yarn. I really like Manos del Uruguay. I love the Alegria base. It's readily available to me. I'm a big fan. Yeah, the pattern is quite easy to memorize once you get going. So that's nice because like I've said before, I'm kind of not a fan of lace on the wrong side row, but this is out of like the, I don't know, 16 row chart repeat, maybe 4 of them, if that, have wrong side rows. So it's fine, it's good, and it's beautiful. And the progress keeper that I'm using on this, which hasn't moved since I added, yeah, I did like 1 row of stockinette and I was like, I don't want to do it. But I'm using a Neko Itsumi cat butt charm that my friend Danielle, who owns the Bunny and Toot Etsy shop and makes amazing charms. She made me this for my 31st birthday, so you can see, I don't know, is that the right way? It might be 13 backwards, I don't know. But she made me a birthday charm, and it's a cat butt. If you know me at all, you know that I love things that have cat butts on them. It's kind of a problem where people just send me things where it's like, this cat butt coaster, this thing with a cat butt, and like, yeah, I know, buttholes for cats. I think it's probably because my cats just continuously show me theirs, and I'm just like, can you put it away? But yeah, Neko Itsumi cat butts are really cute because they're little X's. So yeah, she made that for me and it's adorable, so I'm using that as my progress keeper on here. That's the succulents shawl. And I had to take the needles off of it, so I'm using like huge needles right now just to keep them on because I am knitting this with a 3.5mm, but I needed a 3.5mm for my Mount Pleasant top that I'll talk about in a second. So they got poached, and now I just have something to keep the stitches on the needles. And I typically only really use Hiya sharps. And I have it in my fringe supply bag with my boy-girl party. I don't know what this cat is doing. It's like bookkeeping or something. But yeah, so here's the second skein. I am just about finished the first skein on that shawl. So there's the tag. There's the back of it. You can see how much I paid for it. But yeah, it's 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide. So yeah, that will get done eventually. But right now I'm not obviously working on it because I don't have needle tips that are the right size. So the last work in progress that I have is, oh, it's in one of my new bags. So I'll show this off. This is one of the bags I got from the Edmonton Fiber Frolic, which was the very first fiber festival that Edmonton had, and it was the best day I've had in a long time, but I can talk about that after. So this is a bag from Sugar Tots. She is local to me. She has an awesome Etsy shop, and I love it. It's perfect size for my sweater that I'm working on. And this one here is the Mount Pleasant top from Pip and Pin. So this is a pattern by, I don't know if Megan wrote it. Let me get my life together. So it's Pip and Pin Mount Pleasant top, and they are, I believe, in Vancouver. Canadian designer anyways, which is nice because I cast this on Canada Day, so it's kind of, ooh, I wonder if the Canada KAL is going on. I don't know if it is. I should know this. I feel like that's something that everybody would know. I don't think it is this year. Anyways, this would be a good entry for it because I am using a Canadian pattern and Canadian yarn. So yeah, this is my Mount Pleasant top. So I did a swatch the other day and managed to get gauge with the, oh my goodness, with the recommended needle that I was called for. The only thing is that when I did my gauge swatch, it bloomed sideways a bit. So you can kind of see here that it like goes this way, and I don't exactly know why. And I kind of am playing a little bit of like Russian roulette here, but I'm measuring just the bottom half for my gauge swatch, so I kind of ignored the top half where it got bigger. I also didn't gauge swatch in the round, which is what you're supposed to do, so I had a little bit of like starter fear, I guess. It took me a couple days to decide that I was just gonna knit. I tried swatching with the next size up, which is a 4.0 millimeter needle, but I really didn't like the fabric that I got. So from down here, you get 24 stitches per 4 inches, which is what you're supposed to have. And then on this side, where it kind of goes bigger, I was getting 25. So I was like, it's 1 stitch extra. If I'm knitting in the round, it'll theoretically be tighter. Anyways, I'm just gonna go with it. So I cast on all my stitches, realized that I cast on with the wrong size needle. I was supposed to cast on with the smaller size needle, and then just decided I was gonna go with it. So I was considering recasting that on, but I was really worried about all the annoying things when you cast on hundreds of stitches where you run out of a tail or you know, just don't want to do it. So I just went with it. So this is the yarn that I'm using. This is Haven Fiber Arts, who again, Jess is amazing. She's also just, you know, still local to me. She's basically my yarn dealer, and the coffee maker is going off. But this is, I believe I have her tag in here. I used to have her tag in here. What happened? Good job, me. Either way, it's her sock base, I believe. It's on my Ravlery project page if you're that curious. But it's a sock, it's a fingering weight. This is her bouquet colorway, and it is stunning. Like, it was made for my skin, number one, so it's gonna look amazing on me because I am a pink person. And it's just amazing. It's literally like, I can't help myself. If you want to see the perfect little speckled colors, like in the actual thing that I'm knitting, every once in a while there is literally one single stitch that is bright blue, and it doesn't, like, look, I don't know, where is it, that one, it's just a single speckle of blue. It doesn't carry over 2 stitches, it is one single speckle of blue, and it just, every time I find another one, It brings me so much joy. I get so happy and so excited because I'm like, how is there one single stitch of bright, vibrant blue speckle in something that does not have a lot of blue in it? It's unbelievable. So anyways, we had a Canada Day thing where I went to my brother and my sister-in-law's place, and a couple of my friends from out of town were here with their daughter, and we were sitting and eating and stuff, and like, they were looking at me knitting this and they were just like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Like, Jess is so good. She is so good at dyeing yarn, and her yarn is so amazing, and I have a bunch to show off because I have a lot of stash enhancement to go through. But it's just incredible, the yarn that she puts out. And like, she doubts herself sometimes, where she'll post a thing on Instagram, it's like, this, does anyone like this? Like, I don't think I like this. And everyone's like, yes, we like it. We love it so much. You need to just make everything. We will buy it. So this is my Mount Pleasant top so far. I just finished all of the lace scallop at the bottom, and I will be starting the body now. So this is how it looks so far. It's incredible. I love it. I love the scallops. I love the color. I love the pattern. It's so well formatted and so nicely put together. It's just really great. So this part here will hit me about right here. So it's so pretty. I just love this so much. So yeah, I get to start the body today. And I will be alternating skeins. I'll grab the other one here. Oh, I have the other thing. No, that's not it. This one. So this is the one that I'm using. So Haven Yarn and Fiber Arts. It's her solid sock base, which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And the colorway is bouquet. This is what it looks like in this game. See, like, these little blue things just turn into single stitches. Single stitches. I don't understand how she does it. It's amazing. So I'll be alternating skeins now, just because my sister-in-law, who's also knitting this top, found that her skeins were so different that I'm just gonna start alternating from the very beginning. I don't want to get that, I don't want to have that remorse later where I'm like, I should have done this, I knew I should have done this, what's wrong with me? So yeah, and I've got my beginning of round tooth marker, because why not? So yeah, Mount Pleasant top, it's in the works. It should be done probably quickly because I can't stop knitting on it. I literally avoided doing anything yesterday for Canada Day for as long as possible because I was just sitting and knitting this and binge watching Veep. Because yeah, I've started that show and I am flying through it. So yeah, can we just for a second, just like, yeah, just take a second. Because it's so good. It's so good. I will literally just use any of your yarn, Jess. It's so beautiful. Like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, that's my Mount Pleasant top. And I'm so excited to be knitting myself some garments because I'm having some body positivity issues right now, and instead of kind of just crying continuously in fitting rooms when nothing fits me properly, I'm getting a little bit of a riot girl streak where I'm like, you know what, if the fashion industry isn't going to make clothes for my body, then fuck it, I will make my own. So with this shirt, because as you can see in the picture, I'll probably put a real one up here because her skirt is gorgeous too. But it comes like she's wearing a skirt with hers. I have a really, really, really long torso. I'm 5'6". But when I sit down with other people, I'm consistently like way taller than them when we're sitting in chairs, which freaks people out all the time. Because my torso is basically the only part of the body that I have that has length. So I'm having a really hard time kind of finding clothes for my frame, my hourglass shape, and stuff that just fits without me having to alter it. So one of the things that I kind of want to do with this top, because it is cropped, is learn to sew and sew myself a like chambray denim kind of high-waisted skirt that I could wear with it. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking for. I really want to start sewing. I got my sewing machine manual printed out and I've been reading it and reading noob sewing books just to kind of get more information about the steps that are involved with sewing. if you have any resources or anything that you've kind of found really helpful, like YouTube channels where people break down how to lay out a pattern properly, how to cut your fabric, how to do all that stuff, because that's the stuff where I'm like, oh gosh, that's where I'm gonna mess up. I took home ec in junior high, and the only garment that I've ever sewed was a pair of pajama pants where the crotch to waist ratio was like literally like, they came up to my boobs and they were 4 inches too short. Oops. So I have no idea what I did, but that kind of like anxiety about learning something new is really prevalent with me. So I'm just kind of like psyching myself up to actually start it and try something just by reading as many things as I can or watching as many tutorials as I can. The only thing that I've really ever sewed were my rope baskets, and I sewed another one yesterday which just turned out really weird. It was like a Grecian version, so I really need to start taking notes about how I'm doing, because I'll show, some of you probably won't know, but I've been sewing these baskets, and this one had a bunch of yarn that I have out here, but the angle that I've had where it just comes up straight, I can't do that anymore. So the very first 3 that I had sewed, and maybe it's because my base is just not as big as I've been making it. Maybe I'm making my base too small. But yeah, you basically like sew around and around and around and around, and then when you get to the corners, you start like angling it to get it to come up. And I really just like the modern straight sides. So the very first 3 that I've ever sewed had this general shape. And the one that I sewed for my friend Sarah, it's like, I call it the Grecian version because it comes up and then it like goes in and then comes up again, like a Grecian urn or a pot or something. And I have no idea how I did it, and I haven't been taking notes, and I just want to be able to make them straight. So I've been playing around with my sewing machine. I changed my first needle, which I thought was going to be way harder than it was, so I kind of need to like calm down when it comes to psyching myself out from doing things. And I need to do a little bit of research, because when you're only sewing cotton baskets, there's a lot of like fluff and fiber that gets stuck in there. My goodness. I'm gonna take a sip because I can't talk anymore. Motorcycle's gone. But yeah, there's a lot of fiber and stuff that ends up in my machine, and I really should probably oil it up and do some general maintenance, because I've not done that since I got it. I don't sew a lot, but I've had it for 6 years now. So yeah, sewing baskets and garments is going to be my thing. So I would really like to have a high-waisted denim skirt kind of thing to wear with that cropped sweater shirt. So that's kind of my goal for Knit City this year, is to have a Knit City outfit instead of just a Knit City sweater, and we'll see how that goes. Cross fingers. Because I kind of get nervous when I have to learn new things and make mistakes. I would rather just, you know, be perfect at everything on the first try, but that's not how life works. So that's kind of the main goal right now. What else do I have? Oh, another thing that I've been trying to do, because this kind of goes into the other craftiness part that I was talking about. So the first one was, yeah, making rope baskets. I still kind of want to do a tutorial for how I do it, but I'm also still really conscious of the awful lighting that I have in my apartment. So it's something that's on my list. I might do that now that I have no rope that isn't colored or speckled. So I might just, you know, film little clips and just put it together in a ragtag kind of tutorial way, which won't match and the consistency will be different, whatever. It's just, I've had a lot of people message me or ask me about these baskets, and I think it would be fun to just put a tutorial on how I do it and, you know, send it out so that you can use it if you wanted to. Another thing that I've been trying to do is pick up macrame, but macrame gives me that like feeling of like when I was out in outdoor ed and I could not get knots down, and luckily the school board that I had went on strike so that we didn't have to climb the frozen waterfall like we had the plan of, because honest to God, if I was responsible for tying knots to go rock climbing, I would not be here today, because I would have been dead like 20 years ago. So the knot aspect of macrame, it's something that I'm working on slowly. I've kind of figured out the square knots, and now I'm just like looking to work on to other things. it's really hard to do macrame when you don't have anything to actually like hang your ropes from. So I'm just trying to figure out a different setup that doesn't involve me having to like buy a rolling rack or something. That just makes it easier, because I was just using things clamped to my desk, and that isn't a good way to do it. So macrame is on my list as well. And yeah, the urge to sew garments is really heavy right now. I really just want to find a pattern, find some fabric, and just give her. So that's probably something that I'm going to work on this summer, just because when it's hot, I don't want yarn in my fingers. It gets all weird and sweaty and squeaky, and it's just gross. And I felt that yesterday working on my Mount Pleasant top. I had to turn the AC on because I was just like, ah, it's so gross. Another thing that I'm trying to do is not kill plants. I really want to be a plant lady, but I'm really not doing a good job. If you know how to diagnose succulents, because some of you people are real good at gardening, I'm having an issue with my succulents. They just are very unhappy. And I thought it was because I was overwatering, and everyone says that's why, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. So when you look at leaves like this, if you know what this means, they're just unhappy. They're so unhappy, but they are so pretty, and I love them, and I want to be a good succulent mama. So if you know what's wrong with my plants, let me know, because I don't want them to die. I want to have them be healthy and happy. So yeah, if you know anything about succulents, or if you have good resources on how to not kill succulents, pass them my way. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, the other thing that I kind of touched on was Knit City. So Knit City is coming up in September this year. It's the very last weekend in September. I will be there. I already bought my tickets. Bringing my mama this year, so that'll be exciting because she's never flown and she's never been to Vancouver, and I'm so excited to do the tourist thing with her and show her around. We're planning on doing like Stanley Park, the seawall, the aquarium, just generally things that, you know, I think would be really exciting to take her and show her places. So that's going to be really exciting. Registration was on the 15th, I believe, of June. And that was a really stressful night where I actually yelled at my fiance to shut up and stop asking me questions. Because I'm sitting at my computer and they opened the registration at, I believe, 7 o'clock Pacific time, which was 8 o'clock Mountain time. And I'm sitting there at my computer, like frantically, just like, I was so nervous I was going to get shut out of everything. Stephen West is coming this year, and while I don't have any interest in doing his classes, because I am not a neon color work kind of person, and a lot of the classes that he was doing were kind of revolved around like using color and color work and how to, you know, how to be fancy. But I am going to be taking his lecture where I'm taking my mom too, and she's like, do you think I would like it? I'm like, what the hell do you think you're going to do otherwise? Everybody's going to the lecture, so you're coming. My mom doesn't knit. Yeah, I'm going to do the lecture, and I'm taking a weaving class with Lucy Poskett on the Sunday. So that's kind of it. I didn't want to do a lot of other classes this year. There were a couple other ones that I wanted to do. But you know what? Life's been stressful, and I think I just want to enjoy hanging out and being chill that weekend. So I'm only taking a weaving class and the lecture. Otherwise, I am available and looking forward to just enjoying the marketplace and enjoying hanging out with friends. Because last year I took 2 classes on the same day, and it was a really, didn't feel like a good idea because I was kind of out of the equation for the entire day. And I missed a lot of like just seeing friends before they left to go back home that night. So this year I'm keeping it really calm and chill. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on classes because I am getting married in less than 7 months. So that's another thing that I have to keep in mind and kind of do a little bit of control with, because weddings are kind of expensive. Yeah, so that's Knit City. I'm pretty excited. That whole segue into knitting and not spending money thing goes into my stash enhancement section, and oh my goodness, was it ever a stash enhancement. We had the Fiber Frolic in Edmonton, which kudos. So it was Jess from Haven and Allison Barnes from the Allison Barnes collection. They kind of organized the entire thing and put it together, and they did amazing. It was such a hit. There were people lined up to get in at the very beginning of the day. It was awesome. So I'm really hoping that they do it again next year, and I think that it'll be even bigger of a success, because they had people wanting to become like vendors and were asking on how to, you know, be part of the whole thing, but the registration was closed, so they still had interest even after registration was closed. So Fiber Frolic was a thing. Fiber Frolic was a big thing. Fiber Frolic was a thing where I spent a lot of money on yarn that day and felt a little bit bad, but you know what? Oops. So I'll show you some of the yarn that I got from Fiber Frolic. So one of the main places that I blew through my budget was the very first booth that I had ever really seen walking into the place. And I had never seen her yarn in person or really on the internet either. So this is Julia Strangeland. She's from Alberta. A lot of the people that I bought yarn from are local, so they're local to Alberta. That was kind of the point. So I went and binged at Vivid Yarn's booth. I picked up 2 skeins of this Cast a Spell colorway. So this is 75% merino, 25% nylon. There's 463 yards. Numbers are hard. There's 463 yards per skein. I picked up 2 of these. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but just look at these colors. Look at them. It's ridiculous. Her speckles are so pretty. So I picked up 2 of these. I picked up one of her Ella colorways. So these are all 75% 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. They're all the same base. So this is Ella. It's got some black speckles, some pink speckles. Beautiful. This is her Giant Panda colorway, so it's more minty with some black in it. And some greens. And then this one here is Potion, and oh, you have decided to come undone a little bit. And this, yeah, this is Potion. So it's very similar to the other one. I don't know that I would have bought both of these if I would have, you know, taken a second and breathed a bit and like, but I basically just grabbed a bunch of stuff and bought it and then went back 2 times to her booth to be like, I don't remember if I had this one, and my tote bag was literally so full of yarn that I really couldn't check. So Vivid Yarn, I can't. It's just so pretty. I love her speckles. And this one is the Potion colorway. I wish I would have got 2 of these actually. So that was Vivid. I also went to Poppy Yarn and Fiber and picked up 3 skeins of basically complementary colors. Like I did a really good job sticking to a palette unintentionally. So this is her Fraser sock. There's 460 yards per skein. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's 4-ply. So this is her Countess colorway. It's so pretty. And it works a lot, it works very well with a lot of the other stuff that I got. Same base, and this is the Wino colorway. And it's showing up a little bit more red on camera, but it is more of a burgundy kind of color. And then this one is the Duchess colorway. They're just so pretty, and they work really well with a lot of the yarn that I got. So the idea was, for part of the day, to potentially do a So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry, but I don't know. How am I getting a low battery notification? Shoot, that might be a problem. Anyways, I also picked up a ton of fiber from Haven. So this is her solid sock, which is the same as my bouquet. 80-20 superwash merino nylon, 420 yards, and this is her Sea Glass colorway. It's outstanding. And then this is the Flower Crown, which is very similar to bouquet, but just a little bit more intense. And this one I think is her MCN. Nope, this is her solid sock still. I also picked up, this is the bouquet one that I'm using for my Mount Pleasant. This one here is the MCN. So this is 70-20-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon. There's 400 yards, and this is called the Sweet Sock MCN base, and this is in Wander. And this is the same base, MCN, in Granola Girl. And this was going to be the base of my So Faded sweater. This would be like the pinnacle that I kind of match everything else out to. It's just incredible. It's so good. And then the other skein that I got was from Sugar Tots, and this is just ridiculous. Like, I probably won't use this for a long time because it's just so cool and good, and I just don't want to waste it. So this is her Sweethearts colorway on her plush sock. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards. It's just so pretty. It's muted, it's like the muted cake speckles that I like so much. Other than that, I also picked up 4 skeins of yarn from Lichen and Lace when they had their free shipping sale, but I am a little disappointed in it. This is the Faded Rose, but it looks more like a Tequila Sunrise to me. My friend Amy got some Faded Rose on a single ply, and it looks completely different to this. This is more orange than pink, and I'm really just not sure if I'll even use it. And like, yeah, I was just really disappointed because I wanted pink. I didn't want orange, and this is more orange than anything. But this is their 80/20 sock, superwash merino, 20% nylon, 365 yards per skein. I also picked up seashells in this, but it also just looks way different than what the website, the pictures just didn't seem to really, yeah, I don't even think I like this one either. Because on the website, they just look nicer. They just don't look as obnoxiously bright. And I think I like that not obnoxiously bright thing a lot more. This one, however, I do love. It's linen. Very tonal, just neutral colors. So that one I was really happy with. The other 3 I was a little disappointed in. So I don't know what I'll do with them yet. I don't know. And then my friend Sarah, who is Stash and Knit on Ravelry, has been destashing stuff steadily. So I ended up with 2 skeins of Tosh Merino Light in the whitewash colorway. So that's really pretty. I don't know what I'll do with that yet, but it's really pretty. I also got one of her skeins of Violet Yarn Co. And this is Super Merino Sock, 80/20, 390 meters. I never use meters. I really should, but yards is just easier for me. And yeah, this is the Energy and Neon colorway, so I feel like I want to make socks with this. And then she also gave me 4 skeins of Eco Wool. That's 2 sweaters quantity, or a man sweater quantity. But there's 478 yards in this, and I have 4 of these yarn babies. So I don't know what to do with them yet. Either way, thanks, Sarah. She's the best. So otherwise for stash enhancement, I just wanted to show off some of my markers. I feel like I have to rush now because my battery on my phone is going to die. But these are my friend Danielle's Bunny and Toot stitch markers. So I got a couple of these at the Fiber Frolic. This one is the matzo stick because I literally lose my shit whenever there are matzo sticks. Like at my brother's wedding, I was pretty drunk by the time that they pulled out these appetizers, and I legit yelled, "Oh, there's matzo sticks!" So matzo sticks are kind of my thing. I also got a banana, chocolate dip banana, because there's always money in the banana stand. And what else? This is from Sugar Tots, this little tea stitch marker. I want to try and make a couple of these for myself because I've been playing around with making charms for clay, and I got some translucent clay because I wanted to try and make some tea things, because I really hate when I don't have the right amount of stitch markers, and I want fun stitch markers like this. So I was thinking of making myself a set of 12 little things. What else? What else? Oh, and this is my Pop-Tart charm from Bunny and Toot that went through the washing machine with my yarn. It survived pretty well. I did have to re-glue the eye pin in though, because after a while it kind of just fell out. But for the most part, her charms can go through the washing machine no problem. It's cool. And that's pretty much it, I think. When it comes to other things, yeah. When it comes to other things, personal stuff, I guess. So I turned 31 this year. My birthday was 2 months ago, and my theme for my 31st year is to get my shit together. Been really going through a lot of my stuff and cleaning things out and trying to minimize and just not have so much of my life be chaotic, because it doesn't really have to be. So for me, a lot of the stuff that I've been working on right now is resorting and organizing, and my office is a perpetual space of chaos, and I really would like to just get it pared down, closet pared down, everything just pared down, just having simple things. I was also finally diagnosed with ADHD, which isn't a surprise if you know my family history. I was literally the only one of my 4 siblings that was never diagnosed as a child. So that's been an interesting kind of state where I'm adjusting to new meds and actually able to focus at work and get things done for the first time in a while. And man, that's different when you actually can pay attention and know the steps and work on things in a cohesive and normal way, and not necessarily feel like there's something wrong with you, because there was. I had undiagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So a lot of that is kind of questioning the depression and anxiety meds that I'm on right now. There's a good chance that instead of having a lot of issues with depression and anxiety, it was just, the ADHD symptoms that were coming through. So that's been a kind of thing that's required a lot of personal attention and paying attention to and kind of adjusting. My anxiety has actually been really bad the last couple months. So the whole depression thing I feel like is less important than the anxiety thing. So that's been kind of a journey, figuring out, oh my gosh, if people would have just listened to the symptoms that I had 10 years ago, maybe this could have been dealt with sooner and I wouldn't have felt like I was, struggling for so long. So that's been fun. Another thing that kind of falls into the sort your shit out thing is I started doing some counseling for a sexual assault that I have not dealt with for a while. So that's kind of been taking me out a lot as well, and forcing me to kind of be compassionate. That compassionate thing where I do all the self-care, I go to the gym, I take baths and everything, but it doesn't make me feel better, like what's wrong with me kind of thing. And just kind of learning what it means to be compassionate for yourself and acknowledging when you can and can't do stuff has been really important for me as well. It's been really difficult kind of going through this therapy because it's something that I shut out and shut down for a long time that I've just not dealt with. And at this point, they're saying, this anxiety and depression stuff isn't going to get better unless we deal with the root cause. So we're kind of doing that right now, which at this point is really good. I'm glad that I'm doing it. There are times where it's really, really hard and it's really just, something that I don't feel good about. But for the most part, I'm finding that it's been really positive and I kind of want to just get my life back at this point. So that's a thing. And then wedding stuff. Like, my gosh, when I was recording this a month ago, this last episode, I was kind of in that absolute panic mode and crying about like everything. I really don't like summer, as some of you know, because I hate sweating and being wet, and I hate mosquitoes and I hate all of that stuff, and I just don't feel comfortable when it's hot outside because I usually like to have 15 layers of clothes on. So I really wanted to get married in the winter. And when you're not planning a wedding and winter is coming, it's like either we get married the year after or we sit down and actually start working on this now. So towards June, I started panicking because I'm like, holy crap, there is 6 months until the end of the year. There is 8 months left of winter, and then I'm going into spring already. So June was really stressful for me, trying to find a venue, trying to like figure out what I'm doing, and riffraff outside. Just that panic of feeling like, oh my god, this time is passing and I'm not doing anything, I don't have any plans, I'm gonna have to, and this was, Ross pulled me aside and he's like, what is your actual fear right now? Like, what are you actually afraid of? What is the actual reason why you're acting like this? And I'm standing there like no pants on and just like, I'm so scared that we're gonna have to push the wedding back and we're gonna get married in the spring or summer, or I'm gonna have to wait till next year, and like just like hysterical bawling. And then it turns into like, I won't be able to have a baby, and like just, I spiral very quickly when it comes to these things. So for me, like, I don't want to get married in the spring or the summer or put it off another year, because that'll be 32 and that's another year that I'm gonna not want to be trying for a baby and all this kind of stuff. So we ended up finding a venue. Caitlin, my sister-in-law, actually like recommended it, and we went and saw it. It was the only venue we looked at. It's perfect. It's a community hall, so that means I can bring everything in myself and do whatever I want. But it doesn't look like a community hall. It's got 2 levels, it's a little rustic, it's a little modern, it's just perfect. And we got a deal on the rental because nobody gets married in January. So like, I'm hoping that that's the trend going forward, that everybody just like, oh, you want to use our services and you're getting married in our dead season? Yes, please, like that kind of stuff. So we have a venue, we have a date. So I'm getting married on January 20th, 2018. My dress we had already bought in March. At this point now, we're just doing guest list and save the dates and all that kind of stuff right now. But I'm so excited and kind of overwhelmed when it comes to planning this wedding. We're going to be using fake flowers from Michael's, so I've been going every once in a while with like a 40 or 50% off coupon and buying like stacks of eucalyptus and stuff. And yeah, right now I'm feeling okay, but I'm definitely just like, I'm not a huge fan of Christmas. Christmas is a little overwhelming for me in like good days where I just kind of feel weird and get all emo and depressive and awful. So I'm a little concerned about that kind of being a thing, because Christmas is a huge chunk of that. But planning a wedding, I'm actually getting married, and I think I'm more stressed about getting married and actually being, yeah, it's weird because everyone keeps asking me, are you excited to like get married and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm also feeling this really like overwhelming sense of loss and grieving for like that connection to my family, and kind of moving on from, you know, having my family as like my kind of rock, and transferring that responsibility of like protection to my future husband. I'm having a really hard time trying to decide if I should change my name or not. I kind of don't want to, but I also feel bad that I don't want to. It's just, wedding planning brings out a lot of weird things that I wasn't really expecting it to. So dealing with those kind of feelings and whatever has been really interesting as well. So I'm looking to incorporate as much of my knitting hobbies and like that kind of stuff into my wedding as possible. I'm looking to knit a wedding shawl, and right now I'm kind of set on the Dancing with Bears shawl. I'll put a picture in here because I can't remember the name of the person who knit it. But I'm looking to maybe do something like that. It's just really hard when I don't have my wedding dress yet and I don't know my colors yet. So like this like knitting shawls thing, because I want to do ones from my bridesmaids as well for photos. But yeah, it's just that one thing where I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to knit this many shawls, and I'm gonna have to do this, and I'm gonna have to do that, and then Christmas, and then all this other stuff. So right now I'm trying to just be organized and keep things as cohesive as possible, because I have a tendency to like off-road myself real quick. So I'm just trying to be organized and kind of do a timeline and figure out all of that stuff like now, because I know 3 months down the road it's going to be a different story with me being really busy at work and basically just wanting to like lay on the floor face down. So yeah, it's been exciting and fun and scary and weird and all of the things that you don't expect when you get married, like just that grieving feeling of the life that I had and the person that I was and how that's gonna change. So, and now I'm down to 10%. We can do this. Yeah, so if you have any like suggestions for wedding shawls or bridesmaids shawls, I'm getting married in January, so it's probably gonna be cold. My sister, who is gonna be one of my bridesmaids, is also allergic to wool, so I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what I should do, because the other two are fine, but they all have to match. So I'm almost thinking like when I'm in Vancouver, I'll go to Vegan Yarn and find like a bulky something that will just work for everybody, because I don't want to do acrylic. I really don't want to do acrylic. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for shrugs or whatever, like I don't know what the bridesmaids dresses are going to look like yet, so it's really hard to kind of plan that. My dress has like cap sleeves, so it does kind of have sleeves, but it kind of doesn't. I also want like a fake fur, or like, I don't know, kind of like stole. So if you have suggestions for like really beautiful winter wedding type knits, I would love to hear it, because I'm a little overwhelmed with like everything else. And if I can outsource some of this, like, oh, I saw a thing and I loved this pattern, if you can just send me that, that would really help me out. So other than that, I think that's pretty much it. It's been a long time since I've recorded, and it's hopefully not going to be so long. This setup that I used today is actually really easy. I don't have to do any lights. It's nice and clean. It feels good. It's in my bedroom, and I just feel a lot better about this. So maybe this will just be the setup that I use from now on, because it doesn't take forever to kind of organize it and get it going. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me, who I am, you know, inconsistently consistent, I guess, because it's, yeah, I can't promise when I'll be back. I don't knit enough to really feel like I can do reoccurring things once a month or twice, I don't know. We'll just see. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, questions, whatever, I am very available on the internet. You can find me on Ravlery or Instagram. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, if you want to subscribe, comment, whatever, It's all down there. Bye!
You guys remember that scene in American Beauty where the like teenage girl is laying in a pile of rose petals? I feel like that, except I'm laying in a pile of yarn. And it's even better. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I had a pretty wonderful day and a wonderful evening full of good people and lots of beer and a pizza. And now I get to fall asleep with my yarn.